This means when you make mistakes, you should only suffer one time, right? You shouldn't have to repeat the mistakes that you make. We're going to be talking about why this is a good thing, why you should be doing it, and what happens if you don't do it. So I wrote it down here on this card. So there are three things that happen when you only suffer once and you actually start to learn from your mistakes and get better each time. So you escape traps in life, right? So a lot of people, they live the same 6 months, they live the same 3 months over and over and over until they die. Or they live the same 3 months even for 5 years. That's scary. Like you could have moved forward in 3 months, but instead you chose to keep living that same life for the next what? Like 48 months? You waste time basically. The second thing that happens is you could actually start to achieve your dreams because you're not stuck chasing you're not stuck living the same life, right? You actually know what you're going after and you're able to chase it, right? Because if you're staying the same, if you're repeating the same actions and you're at the same level of life, you're not going to be able to go any higher than that, right? It requires new habits. Sometimes it requires new goals, but it definitely requires not doing the same things, right? And then the last thing that happens is that you could actually start to enjoy your life because you're pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue, right? So you're pursuing your goals and you're able to do that because you're not making the same mistakes twice and you're learning from your actions, you're learning new things, new skills, and you're actually starting to enjoy your life because you get fulfillment, right? And maybe with the success, financial success or spiritual success, you're able to influence others in a good way as well. So that goes into life enjoyment. And as for me, this is coming from somebody who has a $10,000 a month business at the moment, and I earn $36 an hour full time, basically. So total, probably make a little less than six figures. And I actually just interviewed for a job that's over six figures, and we'll find out next week if I actually got it. But this is coming from someone who's pretty successful for their age. I'm 20 years old, right? All right. So what happens when you stop suffering more than once? What happens when you actually start learning from your mistakes, right? Most people, they never even get to the point where they think about this thing. So number one thing is that you learn from your mistakes, right? Life is already hard enough. You don't need to be suffering from your mistakes more than once. That's what this whole video is about. You should be learning from your mistakes, right? And that's what actually makes you a better human being. That's what makes you more wise, and that's the only thing that stops you from repeating the same 3 months of your life over and over again until you die. Is you have to learn from your mistakes. That's the only way you move forward in life. I'm not interested in reliving the same 3 months of my life over and over again. I'd rather achieve more than that than where I'm at right now. And yeah, the second thing that starts happening when you learn from your mistakes, you learn new things, you're actually on this journey, is that you stop wasting time repeating mistakes. See, one of the most devastating things you could do is repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Because it's not actually the mistake itself that's bad for you, it's all the time that you just wasted doing it, right? So, your time is your most valuable thing. This is coming from a 20-year-old who has a relatively small amount of time on this earth. I've only gotten so successful because I know how valuable my time is, right? So you need to stop wasting your time doing these things that you don't want to do, right? If you're not going to be doing what you're doing right now in 5 years, whether it's working at your current job or you're in a relationship, if you're not going to be doing that in 5 years, why are you doing it right now? Sometimes there are exceptions, but a majority of the time, people are just wasting times. They're just repeating the same 3 months of their life over and over again, and they refuse to learn from their mistakes, right? And that's just because they're scared of change. So you can't be scared of change and you have to learn from your mistakes, right? So how do we actually do this, right? Because everybody makes mistakes, right? It's what being human is. So how do you actually know that you're improving? How do you know that you're learning from mistakes, and how do you keep yourself in this the successful habit? How do you build this habit? Because learning from your mistakes is a habit. So the answer to that is you build a system, right? The only way to build a habit is, I would say, 3 days to 30 days. If you can do it 3 days to 30 days, then it's probably a habit, and it probably becomes easier to do it than not to do it because it's a habit. So here's what I mean by building a system. So it's all trial and error. So obviously when you make a mistake, you make an error, right? It's trial and error. But then you have to try to do something else that's the right thing. And you might fail again, but the whole point is to remember your mistakes and to learn from them through trial and error. For example, if you're having trouble staying consistent in the gym, maybe you don't go after work because you're tired and you have little time and you don't have time freedom yet, right? Maybe you start waking up in the morning, in the early morning, right? Maybe you start waking up very early in the morning to go to the gym so nothing can interrupt you, nothing can get in the way, right? That's an example of a system. That's a system that you can use to prevent yourself from falling back into the same habits and just repeating the same mistakes and repeating the same last 3 months of your life until you die, right? It's pretty scary. So you need to quickly analyze your mistakes, learn from them, build a system to make sure that you never do it again. And yeah, you do that through trial and error. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a habit that you have to work on, but nothing worthwhile comes overnight, right? All right. And the last thing I wrote down is no more plateaus for your goals. So, another possibly the best thing that happens when you stop repeating the same mistakes, when you stop repeating the last 3 months of your life over and over, and you're actually able to start improving and learning, is that there's no more plateaus on your goals, right? Let me explain this. So, when you're chasing a goal, right, you're trying to move up, you're trying to achieve that goal. But what happens for most people is they try, they get motivated, it's awesome. Maybe it's a New Year's resolution. And then reality hits, and then they just stop. They stop and they fall back exactly to where they started, right? They got motivated, they stop, and they give up, they quit. And that's just because things get hard, and that's reality. But what happens when you start learning from your mistakes and you actually start building systems and having discipline and you stop wasting time and you're on this journey for sure, right? You're committed, is that you're actually able to continue to chase your goals, right? So maybe that person makes a New Year's resolution, they're all excited, they're motivated. It gets hard, right? They make mistakes. This is too hard for me. That's what they think. And then, but there's something different. They don't just quit, right? They think to themselves, like, why is this so hard? What could I do to overcome this? How do I make sure this doesn't happen? Or maybe this is just a hard part of the journey that I have to accept that everybody who has achieved this has gone through, right? They get to that point and then they have an analysis. And that's the whole thing that we're doing here. You have to have analysis and not just quit, right? Because if you're motivated, it's going to wear off and then you're going to quit when it wears off because shit gets hard. The whole point of this is to, get motivated, set goals. And when it gets hard, you don't want to give up and quit because the only way to lose in life is to quit, right? And that goes for literally anything in life. If you quit, you lose. So you have to learn from whatever you're going through, right? You have to learn from it. And you have to build a system to get you through that so you can keep moving forward and achieve your goal and even go past it. You literally will keep improving if you do this. If you build this habit and you build systems around these things that you want to achieve, it's impossible not to achieve them, right? Because there's a set amount of things that you have to do to achieve your goals, right? If you want to make $100,000 and you work and you make $20 an hour, then there's a set amount of hours that you have to work to make that money. It's the same shit in life. And yeah, that kind of goes back to the second one. Stop wasting time repeating mistakes. So that same person who starts, they start their goal, right? They get motivated, they start moving, then it gets hard, they quit. Then they move to something else. They start going, it's going good, gets hard, and they quit. People love to repeat this, right? They start something new. You've heard the phrase, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? But that's not true. It's just the beginning, the honeymoon phase, and that's what makes things seem like the grass is greener on the other side. But you have to build systems to stick with it, even after you find out that it's all just dead grass on the other side. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. Please do me a favor and stop suffering more than once, right? We can all think of people in our lives that they just can't help it, right? They make the same mistakes over and over again. And there's nothing you could do about it, and it seems like there's nothing they want to do about it. It's just who they are. So do me a favor and don't be that person, because we need less of them on this earth, and we need more people who are ambitious and who are willing to endure hardship, right? God's people. I'll see you guys in the next one.